Imagine you've got a young NBA prospect. He's 7'1". He's got a staggering nearly 7'5" wingspan, is young, incredibly athletic, and just led the NCAA in blocks. You would think you've got the next Rudy Gobert on your hands, right? Today, I'm here to talk about why Walker Kessler will be the biggest steal of the 2022 NBA Draft. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to College Hoops Tonight. As always, I am your host, Austin Samuels. If you haven't already, subscribe down below. We're going to be focusing on NBA Draft content for the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. And with that, let's get right back into it. So today, we're talking about Walker Kessler. So looking at some of the numbers for him, like I said in the intro, 7'1" center from Auburn. He's a sophomore this year, transferred in from North Carolina. He's got nearly a 7'5" wingspan, an incredible physical specimen. So his last year's stats, looking at Auburn, when he was at Auburn, 11.5 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 4.6 blocks per game, was 61% from the field, just 20% from three, and a little under 60% from the free throw line. All with just 2.6 fouls per game. He finished with 155 blocks on the year, which not only was first in all of college basketball, it was top 10 of all time, since blocks had been officially kept as a stat in college basketball. That's pretty crazy. Also, he boasts an incredible 1.77 blocks per foul ratio, which is absolutely incredible. It's a stat used mainly for shot blockers, obviously. In this case, he's almost blocking double the amount of shots that he gets fouls. I mean, that's insane for a big man and an incredible shot blocker like Walker Kessler. Today, we're going to look, first of all, at his strengths, his weaknesses, and then we're going to talk about my projections for him. So today, obviously, his strengths, right? His defense. That's what everybody loves to talk about, and that's what I want to talk about. He's got a 7.4 defensive box plus minus last year, which was one of the best for big men in the entire country. I truly believe you will not find a better low post defender in the draft. People may say, Jabari Smith or Chet Holmgren. I don't think either one brings the full defensive package like Walker Kessler does. He's got an outstanding wingspan, right? We talked about that already. He's incredibly quick off the floor, which allows him to block so many shots, is pretty solid positionally in the post, and can close gaps quickly to be able to block a ton of shots as he does, and keep himself out of foul trouble for the most part, rather than chasing block shots like a guy, say, Hassan Whiteside in the NBA. He's also got a developing post game. He's got pretty good footwork down low offensively. He has a pretty nice mid-range shot as well, and he's got a pretty unique arsenal in the mid-range game. He can hit some hook shots, some fadeaways, some up and under. He's got a good, balance of moves for a guy his age. His finishing is incredible. Even though he is 7'1", obviously, finishing is still important for a big man. 66% at the rim for him this past year, and that's discluding dunks, which he went 19 for 20 on. So, you do the math there. Outstanding finishing by Walker Kessler in his sophomore season at Auburn. He's also a great pick and roll partner. I feel like with a really good guard, say a guy, not necessarily like Chris Paul, but a pass-first guard, he could thrive offensively in that system simply because of the pick and roll. And then lastly, I think he has a good potential to be a decent passer in the NBA. I've seen spurts of it at times, both of his years in college at Auburn and at North Carolina. I think he has that in his game. It definitely needs to be unlocked, and I think it will come as he gets further comfortable with his offensive game. So now we're going to talk about his weaknesses really quick. I'm sure these are the weaknesses that everybody talks about, and the first one is obviously his jump shot. He doesn't have necessarily a very fluid jump shot. It's a little bit clanky. He doesn't usually take the ball up all in one motion. It's usually like he brings the ball up to a certain point at his set point and then goes up. So it's kind of a 1-2 motion instead of just one fluid motion. He will need to tweak his jumper in the pros, but I think for a guy who's 7'1", that's not the biggest concern necessarily. Obviously, with that comes his free throws. He shot about 60% in college. That's not going to cut it in the pros. He's got to bump that up to at least about, high 60s. If he's in the high 60s, you can't complain too much about his free throw percentage. Also, his ball handling isn't great. Even for his position, it's a little bit below average. And he's going to need to improve that if he's going to become a better passer, like I talked about. But that's definitely something he needs to work on. And then lastly, his one flaw defensively is he isn't as switchable as he could be. He's big, right? He's a big guy. He weighs almost 260 and is 7'1". When he's guarding guys out on the perimeter, he tends to have his center of gravity up, at times, and that causes him to get blown by at certain points. He just needs to be better at staying down in a good defensive stance, and he will be solid. But again, he's 7'1". I mean, you can't necessarily blame him for getting blown by a 5'9" quick guard occasionally, right? So now moving on, let's talk about his draft projections. So looking at his draft projections here, currently he's projected to go in the mid-20s in the NBA draft, right? Coming up in about a month here. He's projected to be the fourth center taken off the board behind Jalen Duran and Mark Williams of Duke. Now let me give you my take, all right? I really think he could be a more skilled Rudy Gobert, right? We know Rudy Gobert is a guy who's really just a pick-and-roll finisher and an incredible shot blocker. I think Kessler has his potential to be as good of a shot blocker as Rudy Gobert with a better, more varied offensive game. I think he's got that post-move, feel in his game already as a 20-year-old that can translate to the pros. In a few years, he can develop a solid offensive game. Now, believe me, I'm not talking about him averaging 20 points a game. I don't think that's going to happen. But, a guy in the teens who's, mid-teens, pretty efficient, can definitely see that in Walker Kessler's future. In my opinion, he should be a top 15 pick, and he should be the second center off the board behind Chet Holmgren. I honestly can't think of why Jalen Duran or Mark Williams are ranked higher than him. I don't know what they have in their game that makes them a better player than Walker Kessler. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, this draft is not that deep. I think Kessler is a pretty good risk for a team that needs a rim protector. A middling team, end of the lottery, mid to high teens. Take a shot blocker in Kessler. I think it's going to pay out for you. I think he should be the second center taken off the board. And bold prediction, I think he's going to lead the league in blocks within the next 5 years. One of those years, he will lead the league in blocks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. It was a lot of fun talking about Walker Kessler today. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about NBA draft prospects, mainly sleepers in college basketball that I think could be really good pros. So if you haven't already, like I said, subscribe down below to not miss a thing here on College Hoops Tonight. As always, I am your host. You've been watching College Hoops Tonight every week. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.